Know your place, Omega. That's all you'll ever be. That's what Olivia's pack leader told her every single day of her miserable existence. But Olivia would learn that sometimes, one mistake, one mortifying, earth-shattering mistake, could shatter every boundary between the powerless and the untouchable. It started with a text message, the kind that makes your blood turn to ice the moment you realize what you've done. Olivia stared at her phone screen, her hands trembling so violently she nearly dropped it on the cracked linoleum floor of her basement bedroom. The message had gone through. Sent. Delivered. Read. No. No, 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 no. Her heart hammered against her ribcage, like a caged animal desperate to escape. She'd meant to send that message to her best friend, Sage, a playful, outrageously inappropriate joke about what she'd do if she ever met someone who actually found her attractive. It was supposed to be funny, private, harmless. Instead, she'd sent it to him, King Damon Ashford. The ruthless Alpha King of the Northern Territories, the man whose name alone made grown warriors weep, the king who'd executed 3 pack leaders in the past year for disloyalty, the Alpha whose eyes, cold, merciless silver, had stared out from every news broadcast for the past decade, announcing new laws, new punishments, new reasons why Omegas, like Olivia, should be grateful they were even allowed to breathe. And she'd just sent him a text that read, "I want you to pin me against a wall and make me forget my own name. Think you can handle that? Or should I find someone who actually knows what they're doing?" Olivia's vision blurred, her stomach churned. She was going to be sick. She was going to die. He was going to have her arrested, executed, made an example of. They'd drag her to the Capitol in chains and... Her phone buzzed. She nearly screamed. With shaking fingers, she looked at the screen. King Damon Ashford. Interesting proposition, Omega. You have exactly 1 hour to present yourself at the Northern Palace, or I'll assume you're all talk and no substance. Don't keep me waiting. Olivia's world tilted sideways. Chapter 1. The Omega who had nothing to lose. 3 hours earlier. Olivia scrubbed the pack house kitchen floor on her hands and knees, her fingers raw and bleeding from the harsh chemicals. It was her 3rd shift of the day. First, she'd cleaned the Alpha's quarters, then she'd hauled garbage from the communal dining hall. Now this. You missed a spot, Omega, sneered a voice above her. Olivia didn't need to look up to know who it was. Vivienne, the pack leader's daughter, the golden child who'd been born with everything Olivia would never have, beauty, status, power, and the kind of cruelty that came from never being told no in her entire privileged life. Where? Olivia asked quietly, keeping her eyes on the floor. A designer heel slammed down inches from her hand, splashing dirty mop water across her face and uniform. There, Vivienne said sweetly. Oh, and there, and... Oops, there too. She accidentally kicked over the bucket, sending grimy water flooding across the floor. Olivia had just spent 2 hours cleaning. Clumsy me. You'd better get that cleaned up before Mother sees it. You know how she feels about slovenly Omegas. Olivia's jaw clenched. She wanted to scream. She wanted to grab Vivienne's perfect blonde hair and slam her face into the... No. Don't. You're nothing. You have nothing. You are nothing. Yes, Vivienne. Olivia whispered. That's Miss Vivienne to you, Omega. Yes, Miss Vivienne. Vivienne's laughter echoed down the hallway as she walked away, probably off to meet her fiancé, some wealthy beta from the Eastern Packs who looked at Olivia like she was dirt on his shoe. Olivia stayed on her knees, staring at the ruined floor, and felt something inside her crack just a little bit more. She was 23 years old. She'd been a slave because that's what Omegas were in the Crimson Ridge Pack, no matter what pretty words they used, since she was 16. 7 years of this. 7 years of, yes, Alpha, and sorry, Alpha, and I'll clean that up, Alpha. 7 years of being nothing. Her parents were dead, killed in a rogue attack when she was 15. The pack had graciously allowed her to stay, but only if she worked to earn her keep. Which meant she worked 18-hour days for no pay, lived in a basement with 3 other Omegas, and ate whatever scraps were left after everyone else had eaten. And the worst part? This was considered mercy. Because Omegas without packs didn't survive, rogues didn't survive. The king's law was clear. Every wolf belonged to a pack, or they were hunted down like rabid dogs. So Olivia scrubbed floors, and swallowed her rage, and told herself that one day, maybe, things would get better. She didn't believe it anymore. Later, that evening, Olivia collapsed onto her thin mattress in the basement, every muscle in her body screaming. Sage, her only friend in this hellhole, was already in bed, scrolling through her phone. "Rough day?" Sage asked without looking up. "They're all rough days," Olivia muttered. "Fair point." Sage finally glanced over, her dark eyes sympathetic. "Vivienne again? Kicked over my bucket. 3 hours of work. Gone in 3 seconds. That bitch." Sage sat up. "You know what you need? A distraction. Something fun. Something that reminds you that you're a person, not a pack maid." Olivia snorted. "Like what?" "We can't leave pack territory without permission. We can't go to the entertainment district because we're not respectable enough, and we definitely can't afford anything that costs money. So, we use our imaginations." Sage grinned mischievously. "Come on. If you could have anyone, and I mean anyone in the entire shifter world, who would it be? What would you do with them?" Olivia rolled her eyes. "This is ridiculous. Humor me. You need to laugh or you're going to murder Vivienne in her sleep." "Tempting," Olivia admitted. She thought for a moment. "Fine. If I could have anyone, I'd want someone powerful. Someone who'd make everyone who ever looked down at me regret it. Someone who'd make me feel like I matter." "Ooh, I like where this is going. Keep talking." Olivia's lips twitched into a rare smile. "I'd want him to be so overwhelming that I'd forget my own name. I'd want him to—" She paused, suddenly embarrassed. "Say it." Sage encouraged. "I'd want him to pin me against a wall and make me feel like the only woman in the world." Olivia finished quietly. "I'd want someone who looks at me and sees me. Not just an omega. Not just someone to use." Sage clutched her chest dramatically. "That's beautiful. And scorching hot. You should write that down." "What? No. Come on. Send it to me as a text. I'll send you mine. We'll make it a game. Messages to the fantasy alpha we'll never have." Olivia laughed despite herself. "You're insane. And you love me for it. Come on. One message. Make it spicy." Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the desperate need to feel something other than worthless. But Olivia picked up her phone and started typing. "I want you to pin me against a wall and make me forget my own name. Think you can handle that? Or should I find someone who actually knows what they're doing?" She showed it to Sage, who cackled with delight. "Perfect. Send it." Olivia scrolled through her contacts to find Sage's name. She hit send. And that's when her entire world shattered, because she'd accidentally selected the contact directly above Sage's name. A contact she'd saved months ago when the king had sent a mass message to all pack members about new territory laws. King Damon Ashford. Chapter 2. The Summons. Olivia couldn't breathe. The phone felt like a bomb in her hands. A ticking, deadly bomb that had already detonated and was now just waiting to obliterate her completely. "Olivia?" Sage's voice sounded distant, muffled. "Elle, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Olivia couldn't speak. She could only stare at the screen, at the 3 little dots that appeared under the king's name, indicating he was typing. Typing a response. To her absolutely insane, wildly inappropriate, career-ending, life-ending message. The dots disappeared, then reappeared, then disappeared again. "Olivia, you're scaring me." Sage grabbed her shoulder. "What happened?" Olivia's voice came out as a broken whisper. "I sent it to the wrong person." "What?" "Who cares? It's just I sent it to the king." The color drained from Sage's face. "You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking?" Olivia's voice cracked, hysteria creeping in. "I sent that message to King Damon Ashford. The ruthless Alpha King, the man who executes people for looking at him wrong. I just propositioned him like he's some random guy on a dating app and oh God, I'm going to die. He's going to kill me. He's going to make an example of me. They're going to." Her phone buzzed. Both women screamed. Olivia's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. With trembling fingers, She opened the message. King Damon Ashford. Interesting proposition. Omega. You have exactly 1 hour to present yourself at the Northern Palace. Or I'll assume you're all talk and no substance. Don't keep me waiting. The phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. What does it say? Sage whispered. Olivia couldn't answer. Her mind was spinning, fracturing into 1,000 terrified pieces. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Kings didn't respond to accidental texts from nobody Omegas. They sent guards. They sent executioners. They didn't. Her phone buzzed again. King Damon Ashford. 59 minutes, Omega. I suggest you start moving. He wants me to go to the palace, Olivia breathed. He wants me to go now. Sage's eyes widened to saucers. You can't go. If I don't go, he'll come here. He'll drag me out in chains. He'll punish the whole pack for my disrespect. Olivia's voice turned hollow. At least if I go willingly, maybe he'll just kill me quickly and leave everyone else alone. Don't talk like that. Sage grabbed both of Olivia's hands. You don't know what he wants. Maybe he's just curious. Maybe he found it funny. The ruthless Alpha King doesn't find things funny, Sage. He finds things offensive, treasonous, or worthy of execution. Olivia pulled her hands away and stood on shaking legs. I have to go. I have to face this. Then I'm coming with you. No. Olivia's voice was firm despite her terror. You stay here. If this goes badly when this goes badly, I need you to tell my story. Tell everyone what happened. Make sure they know I didn't mean any disrespect. Tears streamed down Sage's face. Olivia, promise me. Promise me. I promise. Sage whispered. Olivia looked down at herself. She was wearing her cleaning uniform, a shapeless gray dress stained with chemicals and mop water. Her hair was a tangled mess. She smelled like floor cleaner and sweat. Perfect, she thought bitterly. Might as well look like the trash Omega I am when I meet my executioner. But something in her, some tiny, defiant spark that hadn't quite been extinguished by 7 years of abuse, made her pause. If she was going to die, she'd die with whatever dignity she could scrape together. She stripped off the uniform and pulled on the only decent dress she owned, a simple black dress she'd found in a donation bin 3 years ago. It was worn and outdated, but it was clean. She brushed her honey-brown hair until it fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She even found an ancient tube of lip gloss at the bottom of her bag. When she looked in the cracked mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked almost pretty. Too bad pretty doesn't matter when you're about to be executed for insulting a king. You look beautiful, Sage said softly. I look terrified, Olivia corrected. That too. Olivia grabbed her phone and jacket. 43 minutes left. The Northern Palace was a 30-minute drive from Crimson Ridge Pack territory. She'd have to run to the main road and hope she could catch a bus or beg a ride from someone. She made it to the basement stairs before she heard the voice that made her blood run cold. And where do you think you're going, Omega? Pack leader Margot stood at the top of the stairs, her arms crossed, her expression one of cold disapproval. Behind her, Vivienne smirked like a cat that had caught a particularly stupid mouse. I have an errand, Olivia stammered. An errand. Margot's voice dripped with skepticism. At this hour, in a dress. How fascinating. Vivienne descended the stairs, circling Olivia like a predator. She's all dressed up. Maybe she has a secret boyfriend. How scandalous. And Omega thinking she's good enough for romance. I need to go, Olivia said, trying to keep the desperation out of her voice. Please, it's important. Nothing an Omega does is important, Margot said flatly. Get back in your uniform. The upstairs bathrooms need scrubbing. 39 minutes. I can't, Olivia said, and was shocked by the strength in her own voice. I have to leave. Now. Margot's eyes narrowed dangerously. You're refusing a direct order from your pack leader? I'm not refusing, I'm just... Seize her, Margot commanded. 2 guards appeared from the shadows they'd been waiting. Olivia realized with horror. This was a trap. They'd been watching her, waiting to catch her doing something wrong so they could punish her. Strong hands grabbed her arms. Take her to the discipline room, Margot ordered. 3 days in isolation should remind her of her place. No. Olivia struggled, genuine panic flooding through her. You don't understand. The king, he summoned me. If I don't go, he'll... Vivienne's laughter cut through her protests. The king? You expect us to believe the Alpha King summoned you? An Omega nobody? She turned to her mother. She's delusional. Maybe isolation isn't enough. Maybe she needs medical evaluation. Please. Olivia's voice broke. Check my phone. He sent me a message. I have to go. Margot snatched the phone from Olivia's pocket. She scrolled through the messages, her expression shifting from disdain to confusion to something that might have been fear. The phone slipped from her fingers. What is it? Mother? Vivienne asked. Margot's face had gone pale. She's telling the truth. The king. He actually summoned her. The guard's grips loosened slightly. Vivienne grabbed the phone from the floor, reading the messages. Her perfect face twisted with ugly jealousy. This is impossible. Why would the king summon her? She's nothing. She's wasting time, Olivia said, her voice stronger now. She wrenched herself free from the guards. I have 35 minutes to reach the palace, or the king will assume I'm defying him. And when he comes looking for answers, what will you tell him? That you prevented me from answering his summons? The color drained from Margot's face completely. Let her go, she whispered. Now. The guards released her immediately. Olivia didn't wait for them to change their minds. She bolted up the stairs, through the pack house, and out into the cold night air. Her legs burned as she ran toward the main road, her heart hammering against her ribs. A sleek black car was waiting at the pack territory border. A driver in royal livery stood beside it, his expression neutral. Miss Olivia? She skidded to a stop, gasping for breath. Yes? His Majesty anticipated you might have difficulties leaving. I'm here to escort you to the palace. He opened the back door. We have 32 minutes. That's more than enough time. Olivia climbed into the car on shaking legs. The interior was pure luxury leather seats, soft lighting, the faint scent of expensive cologne. As the car pulled away from the only home she'd known for 7 years, Olivia stared out the window and tried to prepare herself for whatever awaited her. Death, probably. But maybe, just maybe, something else entirely. The city lights of the capital appeared on the horizon, and the northern palace rose above them, like a crown of glass and steel and ancient stone. Beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Just like him, Olivia thought, and wondered if those would be her last coherent thoughts before the ruthless Alpha King destroyed her completely. Chapter 3. The Ruthless Alpha King. The northern palace was even more intimidating up close. Olivia had seen it in photographs, on television broadcasts, in propaganda posters plastered across every pack territory in the kingdom. But nothing prepared her for the reality of it the way it seemed to pierce the sky itself. All gleaming obsidian and silver, with ancient stone foundations that had witnessed centuries of bloodshed and power. The car pulled through gates that were guarded by warriors who looked like they could snap her in half without breaking a sweat. Their eyes tracked her with cold assessment as the vehicle passed, and Olivia wondered if they were calculating how quickly they could kill her if ordered. Probably very quickly. The driver stopped at a private entrance, away from the grand main doors where visiting dignitaries and pack leaders would normally enter. This entrance was smaller, more discreet, the kind of entrance used for people who weren't supposed to be seen. Or people who aren't supposed to leave, her mind whispered darkly. Miss Olivia, the driver said, opening her door. Someone will escort you from here. She climbed out on trembling legs. The air was colder here, sharper, as if even the weather knew to be more severe in the king's presence. A woman appeared from the shadows, tall, elegant, with silver hair swept into an immaculate bun and eyes that missed nothing. She wore the formal attire of a high-ranking palace official, and her expression was carefully neutral. I am Cordelia, the king's senior advisor, she said crisply. You are Olivia of Crimson Ridge Pack? Yes, ma'am. Cordelia's eyes swept over her, assessing, calculating. You're late by 43 seconds. His Majesty is displeased. Olivia's stomach dropped. I came as fast as I could. My pack leader tried to save your explanations for the king. Cordelia turned sharply. Follow me. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything. Do not look directly at His Majesty unless he commands it. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. They entered the palace through corridors that seemed designed to intimidate. Everything was sharp angles and cold perfection, marble floors polished to mirrors, walls adorned with portraits of previous Alpha Kings who stared down with varying degrees of cruelty, and the occasional splash of crimson in the decor that reminded visitors exactly what happened to those who displeased the crown. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. Every step felt like walking toward an execution, which, she supposed, she probably was. They climbed a grand staircase, turned down another corridor, and finally stopped before massive double doors made of dark wood inlaid with silver. Cordelia knocked twice. Enter. The voice from inside was deep, commanding, and sent shivers down Olivia's spine. This is it. This is where I die. Cordelia pushed open the doors and gestured for Olivia to enter. His Majesty will see you now. Olivia forced her legs to move. She stepped into the room, and the doors closed behind her with a soft, final click. The office was enormous. High ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, shelves lined with ancient texts and modern technology. A fireplace crackled on one wall, casting dancing shadows across the space, and behind a massive desk sat the man who ruled the entire Northern Territories with an iron fist. King Damon Ashford. Olivia's breath caught. The photographs didn't do him justice, didn't capture the raw, overwhelming presence of him. He was tall. She could tell even with him seated, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that was slightly too long to be properly formal, and eyes that were indeed silver, but not the cold, dead silver she'd expected. They were molten metal, burning with intelligence and something else she couldn't quite name. He was handsome in the way. A sword was handsome, all sharp edges and deadly precision. He was terrifying. He was, staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. You're shorter than I expected, he said finally. Of all the things Olivia had anticipated him saying, that wasn't one of them. I what? Shorter. He leaned back in his chair, those silver eyes tracking her every movement. From your text message, I expected someone taller, more confident, someone who could actually back up such bold words. Heat flooded Olivia's cheeks. Your Majesty, I need to apologize. That message was a terrible mistake. It was supposed to go to my friend, and I accidentally, I'm aware. He cut her off with a gesture. I had my tech team trace the message origins. They confirmed you were composing texts with a friend, engaging in what I believe is called fantasy roleplay. He said the words with the faintest hint of distaste, as if the concept was beneath him. So, you didn't mean to proposition your king? No. I mean, yes, I didn't mean to. I would never, Olivia stammered, tripping over her words. I have nothing but respect for you, Your Majesty. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or inappropriate. I just... Stop. His voice was quiet but commanded instant obedience. Stop apologizing. It's tedious. Olivia's mouth snapped shut. Damon stood, and Olivia's assessment was correct. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, and moved with the fluid grace of a predator. He circled around his desk, each step deliberate, and Olivia had to fight the urge to back away. He stopped a few feet from her, close enough that she could smell his scent, cedar, and winter frost, and something uniquely him that made her wolf stir for the first time in years. No. Absolutely not. Do not react to him. Do not. Look at me, he commanded. Olivia's eyes snapped up to meet his, even though Cordelia had explicitly told her not to look at him directly. But she couldn't disobey a direct order from the king himself. Those silver eyes bore into hers, searching, analyzing. You're terrified. It wasn't a question, but Olivia answered anyway. Yes, Your Majesty. Of me? Of what you'll do to me for my disrespect? A ghost of something amusement? Curiosity? Flickered across his face. And what do you think I'll do to you? Execute me, Olivia said quietly. Make an example of me. Show the kingdom what happens to Omegas who forget their place. He tilted his head slightly. Is that what you've been taught? That I execute people for minor offenses? You execute pack leaders for disloyalty. Pack leaders who committed treason, he corrected. who were stealing resources from their packs, abusing their power, and threatening the stability of the kingdom. That's slightly different from an Omega sending an accidental text message, don't you think? Olivia didn't know what to think. This wasn't going at all like she'd expected. Damon moved closer, and now she could feel the heat radiating from him, the sheer power that rolled off him in waves. Tell me, Olivia of Crimson Ridge Pack, if that text message hadn't been an accident, if you really did want to proposition me, what would you be hoping for? Her throat went dry. I don't understand the question, Your Majesty. It's a simple question. His voice dropped lower, more intimate. What does an Omega who's been beaten down her entire life hope to find when she fantasizes about a powerful Alpha? The question was too perceptive, too close to truths she'd never admitted even to herself. I wasn't fantasizing about you specifically. I know. But you were fantasizing about someone. Power. Protection. Someone who would make you feel valued. His eyes never left hers. Someone who would make you forget your own name, because for once, you'd be so consumed by pleasure that your pain wouldn't matter. Olivia's breath hitched. How did he know that? How could he possibly? I've studied pack dynamics my entire life, Damon continued, as if reading her thoughts. I know exactly how Omegas are treated in packs like Crimson Ridge. I know about the abuse, the degradation, the systematic breaking down of spirits until you believe you're worthless. Then why don't you stop it? The words burst out before Olivia could stop them. A dangerous silence filled the room. Idiot. You absolute idiot. You just challenged the king. But Damon didn't look angry. If anything, he looked interested. Because, he said slowly, changing centuries of pack culture and hierarchy requires more than just royal decrees. It requires shifting the fundamental beliefs of every Alpha, Beta, and Omega in the kingdom. And that kind of change takes time, strategy, and leverage. He paused. But perhaps you're about to help me with that. Olivia blinked. What? I didn't summon you here to punish you, Olivia. I summoned you here because your accidental text message gave me an idea. He returned to his desk, pressed a button, and the windows tinted to privacy mode. An idea that could benefit us both. I don't understand. You will. He gestured to a chair. Sit. Olivia sat, her mind reeling. Damon leaned against his desk, arms crossed, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. I need a mate. Olivia's brain short-circuited. I'm sorry, what? A mate. A queen. Someone to stand beside me and help reshape this kingdom's attitude toward Omega rights. His expression was unreadable. And you, Olivia of Crimson Ridge Pack, just became a very interesting candidate. The room spun. This wasn't execution. This was something infinitely more dangerous. Chapter 4. The Proposal. Olivia was certain she'd misheard him. Your Majesty, she said carefully. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. I'm an Omega. A nobody Omega from a pack that treats me like garbage. You're the Alpha King. You can't possibly be suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. Damon interrupted. I'm proposing a mutually beneficial arrangement. He moved to a cabinet, poured 2 glasses of amber liquid, and offered one to her. Drink. You look like you're about to pass out. Olivia took the glass with trembling hands and downed it in one gulp. The liquor burned down her throat, but it cleared some of the fog from her mind. You want me to be your mate, your queen. Potentially, yes. Why? Because you're perfect. Olivia laughed a sharp, hysterical sound. I'm the furthest thing from perfect. I'm weak. I'm poor. I have no connections, no education beyond basic schooling, and I smell like floor cleaner most days. There are thousands of beautiful, accomplished Omega women who would kill for this opportunity. Why would you possibly choose me? Damon's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Because you're precisely what I need to make my point. What point? He set down his glass and faced her fully. For the past 3 years, I've been trying to pass legislation that would protect Omegas from abuse. Fair wages, safe working conditions, the right to reject unwanted bonds, basic dignity. His voice hardened. Every single proposal has been blocked by the Alpha Council. They claim Omegas are too fragile to handle real responsibility, that they need guidance and structure, that giving them rights would upset the natural order. Olivia's heart clenched. She'd had no idea he'd been fighting for Omegas. The news broadcasts never mentioned it. Of course they don't mention it, Damon said, again seeming to read her thoughts. The Alpha Council controls most of the media. They bury anything that doesn't fit their narrative. He leaned forward. But they can't bury a royal wedding. They can't ignore the Alpha King's chosen mate. And if that mate is an Omega who rises from nothing to stand as queen, who proves through her very existence that Omegas are capable of strength, intelligence, and leadership, then their entire argument collapses. Understanding dawned slowly. You want to use me as a symbol. I want to use us as a statement, he corrected. You become my mate, my queen. We show the kingdom that Omegas deserve respect, that the hierarchy is archaic and needs to change, and in return, you get everything you've ever dreamed of: power, protection, a life where no one can ever treat you as less than again. It was brilliant. It was insane. It was tempting. Too tempting. What's the catch? Olivia asked quietly. Damon raised an eyebrow. Perceptive. There's always a catch, isn't there? He returned to his chair, steepling his fingers. The catch is that this would be a contract, not a love match. We would present as a devoted couple in public, but in private, we maintain professional boundaries. The bond would be political, not personal. Something in Olivia's chest twisted painfully. So no actual mating bond. No mark, no consummation, no true mate connection. His voice was matter-of-fact. I need a partner who can help me change the kingdom, not someone who'll become emotionally dependent and complicate matters. That's very romantic, Olivia said dryly. I'm not interested in romance. I'm interested in revolution. And what happens when you meet your actual true mate? When you want a real queen? Damon's expression shuddered. I don't believe in true mates. That's a fairy tale Omegas tell themselves to make their bondage seem more palatable. His voice was cold now, clinical. Mate bonds are just biology, pheromones, and instinct. They can be resisted. Olivia studied him. There was something beneath his words, some old wound he was covering with cynicism. But she didn't dare press. So, she said slowly, you want me to become your fake mate, help you pass legislation to protect Omegas, and then what? We stay in a loveless political marriage forever? The contract would last 5 years, Damon said. Long enough to establish precedent and pass the necessary laws. After that, we could quietly dissolve the bond claim, incompatibility, or irreconcilable differences. You'd be set for life. Wealth, status, protection. You could live wherever you want, do whatever you want. No one would dare mistreat a former queen. 5 years of pretending to be in love with the most dangerous man in the kingdom. 5 years of living a lie. 5 years of having everything she'd ever wanted, except the one thing she'd truly craved: someone who actually cared about her. And if I say no? Olivia asked. Then you return to Crimson Ridge Pack, and we both forget this conversation ever happened. His silver eyes held hers. I won't punish you for the text message. You're free to leave. But Olivia, think carefully. When will you ever get another chance to escape that basement? To matter? The words hit like a physical blow because they were true. This was her chance. Her one, singular opportunity to become something more than an abused Omega scrubbing floors for people who despised her. But it would cost her. It would cost her any hope of finding real love, real connection. She'd be trading one kind of prison for another, a gilded cage instead of a basement, but a cage nonetheless. How long do I have to decide? She whispered. Tonight. Damon's voice was implacable. If you agree, we announce the engagement tomorrow. Strike while the shock value is highest. If you refuse, you leave now and never speak of this to anyone. That's not enough time to. Life doesn't give us enough time for anything important. He cut her off. We make decisions with incomplete information and hope they're the right ones. So, decide, Olivia. Stay a victim or become a queen. Olivia closed her eyes. She thought of Vivienne's cruel laughter, of Margot's cold dismissal, of 7 years of bruised knees and bleeding hands, and a bed that was never warm enough, of a life that stretched ahead with nothing but more of the same. More abuse, more invisibility, more slow death of the spirit until she was just an empty shell going through the motions. She thought of Sage, who deserved better than to watch her best friend be ground into dust. She thought of all the other Omegas and all the other packs, suffering the same fate, with no one powerful enough to fight for them. And she thought of herself, of the girl she'd been before her parents died, before the pack broke her. The girl who'd dreamed of adventure, and love, and a life that meant something. That girl was still in there somewhere, buried under years of trauma. Maybe it was time to let her out. Olivia opened her eyes and met Damon's gaze. I have conditions. I have... He leaned forward, interested. I'm listening. First, I want Sage, my friend, brought here to the palace. She gets a real job, real pay, and protection. She doesn't go back to Crimson Ridge. Done. Second, I want to actually help with the legislation. I don't want to be just a pretty symbol. I want to use my experience to make real changes. Agreed. I'd planned on that anyway. Third, this one was harder. If either of us meets our true mate during these 5 years, we dissolve the contract immediately. No questions asked. I won't trap you, and you won't trap me. Something flickered in Damon's eyes. Surprise? Respect? That's remarkably fair-minded. I've been trapped my whole life, Olivia said quietly. I won't do that to someone else, even in a fake arrangement. Damon stood and extended his hand. Then we have an agreement. 5 years. We play the perfect couple in public, change the kingdom's laws, and then part ways amicably. You'll have wealth, freedom, and a life of your own choosing. Olivia stared at his outstretched hand. This was it. The moment that would change everything. She could say no. Walk away. Return to her basement, and her mop bucket, and her small, sad life. Or she could take his hand and step into the unknown. Sometimes, one mistake can shatter every boundary between the powerless and the untouchable. A voice whispered in her memory. Her own voice, from what felt like a lifetime ago. Maybe this wasn't a mistake. Maybe this was destiny wearing a disguise. Olivia reached out and clasped Damon's hand. His grip was strong, warm, and sent electricity racing up her arm. I accept your offer, Your Majesty. His lips curved into a real smile, this time sharp and dangerous and thrilling. Then I suppose we should discuss wedding plans. And Olivia? Yes? Call me Damon. We're engaged now. Might as well start practicing intimacy. The way he said the word intimacy made heat flood through her body. This was going to be a very complicated 5 years. Subscribe if you believe Olivia deserves better than the life she's been forced to live, because people like her need an audience that won't abandon them when things get dangerous. Drop a comment if you'd make the same choice Olivia just did. Would you take the deal? Chapter 5. The Transformation. Olivia didn't return to Crimson Ridge that night. Within an hour of accepting Damon's proposal, Cordelia had whisked her away to a private wing of the palace, a suite of rooms so luxurious that Olivia was afraid to touch anything. Crystal chandeliers, silk curtains, a bed that looked like it belonged in a fairy tale, and a bathroom larger than the entire basement she'd shared with 3 other Omegas. This will be your quarters until the wedding, Cordelia explained, her tone brisk but not unkind. After the ceremony, you'll move into the Queen's wing adjacent to His Majesty's rooms, for appearances. Right. Appearances. Olivia's voice sounded hollow, even to her own ears. Cordelia's sharp eyes softened slightly. I know this must be overwhelming, but you should understand something: the king doesn't make decisions lightly. If he chose you, there's a reason beyond the political statement. What reason? That's for you to discover. Cordelia moved toward the door. Rest tonight. Tomorrow, we begin your transformation. You have 1 week to become a queen. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Olivia alone in more luxury than she'd ever imagined. She should have felt relieved, safe, triumphant. Instead, she felt terrified. She walked to the massive window overlooking the palace gardens, manicured hedges, fountains that sparkled under moonlight, paths that led to places she'd never been allowed to explore. Beyond the gardens, the city glittered like 1,000 fallen stars. Somewhere out there was Crimson Ridge Pack. Vivienne was probably celebrating, thinking Olivia had been executed. Margot was probably relieved to be rid of her, problem omega. And, Sage. Olivia's phone buzzed. Sage. Are you alive? Sage. Please tell me you're alive. Sage. Olivia. I swear if you're dead I'm going to kill you myself. Olivia's eyes burned with tears. She typed quickly. Olivia. I'm alive. I'm at the palace. And Sage. Something insane just happened. Sage. What? Did he let you go? Are you coming back? Olivia. I'm not coming back. Ever. But you are. Pack your things. You're moving to the palace tomorrow. What? Olivia. I'll explain everything when you get here. Just trust me. Your life is about to change too. Sage. Olivia, what did you do? Olivia. I agreed to marry the king. There was a long pause. Then, Sage. I'm sorry. My phone must be broken because it looks like you just said you're marrying the Alpha King. Olivia. Your phone isn't broken. Sage. Explain. Now. Olivia spent the next 20 minutes typing out everything. The accidental text, the summons, the proposal, the contract, the 5-year plan. Everything except the part about it being fake. That detail felt too dangerous to put in writing, even to her best friend. Sage. This is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Sage. I'm so proud of you. Sage. Also terrified for you. Sage. But mostly proud. Sage. You're going to be a queen. Olivia, a fake queen. But yes. Sage. Doesn't matter. You're getting out. We're both getting out. I could cry. Olivia. Save the tears for tomorrow. They're going to transform me into someone worthy of being queen. Pretty sure that involves a lot of pain. Sage. You're already worthy. Don't let them make you forget that. Olivia smiled despite her fear. Sage always knew exactly what to say. They texted for another hour before Sage finally signed off to pack. Olivia was about to put her phone down when another message appeared. Demon, are you settling in? Her heart stuttered. The king was texting her. Casually. Like they were friends? Olivia. Yes, thank you. The rooms are beautiful. Demon. Good. Sleep well. Tomorrow begins your training. Cordelia will be intense. Olivia. Training for what? Exactly. Damon. Everything. Etiquette, politics, public speaking, pack law, combat, dancing. You'll need to be fluent in all of it. Olivia. Combat? Damon. A queen needs to be able to defend herself. I won't have you be helpless. Something warm unfurled in Olivia's chest. He wanted her to be strong. Not docile. Not obedient. Strong. Olivia. I'll do my best. Demon. I know you will. That's why I chose you. Good night, Olivia. Olivia. Good night. Damon. It felt strange typing his name. Intimate. Even though she knew this was all just part of the performance. Olivia set her phone down and finally allowed herself to explore the suite. The closets were empty, waiting to be filled with her new wardrobe. Presumably, the bathroom had a tub big enough to swim in. The bed was so soft she felt like she was floating. She took a long, hot shower, washing away 7 years of floor cleaner and despair. When she finally climbed into bed, wrapped in silk pajamas that had been left for her, she expected to lie awake all night, processing everything. Instead, she fell asleep within minutes. For the first time in years, she felt safe. The next morning, Olivia woke to someone shaking her shoulder urgently. Up. Now. We have 9 hours before the press conference, and you look like a disaster. Olivia blinked blearily at Cordelia, who stood beside the bed looking like she'd already conquered 3 kingdoms before breakfast. Press conference? The king is announcing your engagement at 3 o'clock this afternoon, which means you need to be camera-ready, poised, and capable of not fainting when 100 reporters start screaming questions at you. Cordelia yanked the curtains open, flooding the room with brutal morning sunlight. We have our work cut out for us. What followed was the most exhausting 9 hours of Olivia's life. First came the wardrobe team, a battalion of stylists who measured every inch of her body, debated her color palette, and dressed her in outfit after outfit, until they found the one. A deep emerald dress that hugged her curves, made her honey brown hair glow, and somehow made her look regal instead of terrified. Green is the royal color, one stylist explained. It symbolizes growth, renewal, and power, perfect for an Omega Queen breaking tradition. Then came hair and makeup, 2 hours of styling, primping, and teaching her how to enhance her natural beauty, which apparently involved a shocking amount of products. "You have beautiful eyes," the makeup artist said, applying something that made them seem larger, brighter. "We're going to make sure everyone notices them." Then came the etiquette lessons. Chin up, shoulders back, spine straight, Cordelia barked as Olivia practiced walking in heels. "You're a queen now, not a servant. Stop apologizing with your body language." "How do I apologize with ow?" Olivia stumbled in the ridiculously high heels. "Like that. You hunch. You make yourself smaller. Queens don't make themselves smaller." Cordelia demonstrated spine straight, head high, movements fluid and confident. "Try again." Olivia tried, and fell, and tried again. By the 5th attempt, something clicked. She stopped thinking about not falling, and started thinking about where she was going. Her body followed. "Better," Cordelia said with the faintest hint of approval. "You're a fast learner." Next came media training. "Never say no comment," a thin man named Julian instructed. "It makes you look guilty. Instead, redirect. That's an excellent question, but what I'd really like to focus on is..." And then pivot to your message. "What is my message?" "That Omegas deserve dignity. That the king chose you because he sees potential the rest of the kingdom has been blind to. That love," Julian paused, glancing at Cordelia, who nodded slightly, "can happen between any two wolves, regardless of status." "Love, right. The lie they'd be selling." "They're going to ask about your background," Julian continued. "About Crimson Ridge Pack. About how you met the king. We've prepared a script." "No script." Damon's voice cut through the room like a blade. Everyone turned. He stood in the doorway, dressed in formal black, looking every inch the powerful king he was. His silver eyes found Olivia and held. "Your Majesty," Julian stammered. I know what you were doing, and I'm telling you no script." Damon moved into the room, his gaze never leaving Olivia. "She speaks from the heart, or this doesn't work. People can smell lies. We need authenticity. But Your Majesty, if she says the wrong thing, then we deal with it." Damon stopped in front of Olivia. "How are you holding up?" "I'm terrified," she admitted. "And my feet hurt. And I'm not sure I can do this." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Good. If you weren't terrified, I'd be worried. Fear means you understand the stakes." He reached out, adjusted a strand of her hair that had fallen out of place. The gesture was surprisingly gentle. "But you can do this." "Do you know how I know?" "How?" "Because you've survived 7 years of abuse that would have broken most people. You're stronger than you think." His voice dropped lower. "And today, you show the entire kingdom exactly what Omegas are capable of." Something in his words steadied her. He believed in her. Or at least, he believed in what she represented. It would have to be enough. "Okay," Olivia said, squaring her shoulders the way Cordelia had taught her. "Let's do this." Damon's smile widened. "There she is. There's my queen. My queen." The words sent electricity through her, even though she knew they were just part of the performance. This was going to be so much harder than she'd thought. 2 hours later, Olivia stood backstage at the palace press room, her heart trying to beat its way out of her chest. Through a gap in the curtain, she could see the crowd of reporters, dozens of them, cameras ready, voices already buzzing with speculation about why the king had called an emergency press conference. Sage had arrived an hour ago and was waiting in the audience, her eyes wide with shock and pride. Seeing her best friend there, supporting her, gave Olivia strength. "Ready?" Damon appeared beside her, looking infuriatingly calm. "No." "Perfect. Neither am I." At her shocked look, he added, "I'm always nervous before public addresses. The day I stop being nervous is the day I stop caring about getting it right. That's actually helpful. Thank you." Don't thank me yet. Wait until we survive the next hour. He offered his arm. Shall we? Olivia took his arm, feeling the solid strength of him, the warmth that radiated through his formal jacket. They stepped into the lights together. The room erupted. Chapter 6. The Announcement. Camera flashes exploded like lightning strikes. The noise was deafening, shouted questions overlapping, the clicking of cameras, the rustle of notepads and tablets, as reporters scrambled to document every second. Olivia's instinct was to shrink back, to make herself small and invisible the way she'd been trained her entire life. But Damon's hand covered hers where it rested on his arm, a silent reminder. Queens don't make themselves smaller. Olivia lifted her chin and walked beside him to the podium, her heels clicking against the marble floor with each step. She could feel hundreds of eyes on her, assessing, judging, questioning. Who was this nobody Omega standing beside their king? Damon stopped at the podium, and the room gradually quieted. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, he began. I have an announcement that will reshape the future of the Northern Territories. The reporters leaned forward as one. For years, I've fought to change the archaic systems that govern our kingdom, systems that judge wolves not by their character or capabilities, but by their designation at birth. His silver eyes swept across the room. Today, I take the first step toward that change. Today, I announce my engagement to Olivia Thorne of Crimson Ridge Pack. The silence lasted exactly 2 seconds. Then chaos erupted. Your Majesty, she's an Omega. Is this a political statement? What about Lady Seraphina? Weren't you? How long have you been seeing each other? Does the Alpha Council approve? Damon raised one hand, and the room fell silent again. The display of power was breathtaking, one gesture, and dozens of aggressive reporters simply stopped talking. I will take questions in a moment, he said. But first, I want to be absolutely clear about something. Olivia is not a statement. She is not a political maneuver. She is my chosen mate, and she will be your queen. Anyone who questions her worth based on her designation will answer to me personally. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. Now, questions. A female reporter near the front stood immediately. Your Majesty, how did you meet Miss Thorne? Damon glanced at Olivia, giving her the floor. This was it. Her first test. Olivia stepped closer to the microphone, her voice shaking slightly but growing stronger with each word. We met through an unexpected conversation. A message that was meant for someone else, but ended up changing both our lives. It was the truth. Just not all of it. What drew the king to you? Another reporter called out. You'd have to ask him, Olivia said, managing a small smile. But I hope it's because he saw someone who understands what it means to struggle. Someone who wants to make things better for those who have no voice. And what makes you qualified to be queen? A male reporter's voice was sharp, challenging. You have no political experience. No royal training. Neither did the king's great-grandmother when she became queen consort, Olivia interrupted, surprising herself with her boldness. She was a merchant's daughter from the Eastern Pacts, yet she's remembered as one of the most effective queens in our history because she understood the common wolves. She knew what they needed because she'd lived it. Several reporters nodded, impressed. Julian's research had paid off. He'd given her historical examples to draw on, and she'd absorbed them like a lifeline. Are you saying Omegas are as capable as Alphas? The challenge was clear. I'm saying capability has nothing to do with designation, and everything to do with character, Olivia replied. The Omega who keeps a pack house running, who manages resources, who mediates conflicts, she's demonstrating leadership every single day. We've just never called it that. Damon's hand found the small of her back, a gesture of support that the cameras caught immediately. The touch sent heat spiraling through her. One more question, Damon announced. A young reporter near the back stood. Miss Thorne, are you afraid? The position you're stepping into has historically been dangerous. Queens have been assassinated, overthrown, destroyed by political enemies. Does that frighten you? The room held its breath. Olivia thought of her basement bedroom, of Vivienne's cruelty, of 7 years of being treated as less than nothing. Yes, she said honestly. I'm terrified, but I've been afraid every single day of my life. At least now. My fear serves a purpose. If my fear and my courage can help change things for other Omegas who feel powerless, then it's worth it. The room erupted again, but this time the energy was different. Some reporters were nodding. Others were already typing furiously. A few even looked moved. Damon leaned into the microphone. The wedding will take place in 6 days. Details will be provided to approved media outlets. Thank you. He guided Olivia off the stage as questions continued to fly. The moment they were backstage, away from the cameras, Olivia's knees buckled. Damon caught her, his strong arms steadying her. Breathe. You did perfectly. I thought I was going to throw up. I know. But you didn't. You stood there and faced down some of the most aggressive journalists in the kingdom, and you made them listen. There was genuine admiration in his voice. That speech about leadership? Brilliant. Where did that come from? I have no idea, Olivia admitted, her heart still racing. It just came out. Then we need to let it keep coming out. He released her, though his hands lingered on her arms for just a moment longer than necessary. Come on, we need to get you somewhere private before the media circus moves backstage. But before they could leave, Cordelia appeared with Sage in tow. Olivia. Sage crashed into her with a fierce hug. You were amazing. Did you see their faces? You made them actually think about what you were saying instead of just dismissing you. I was shaking the entire time. Nobody could tell. You looked like a queen already. Sage pulled back, her eyes shining. I'm so proud of you. Damon cleared his throat. Miss Sage, I presume? Sage's eyes went wide as she realized she was standing directly in front of the Alpha King. Oh gods, yes, I'm Sage. I'm so sorry for the informal greeting, Your Majesty. It's fine, Damon said, and was that amusement in his voice? Any friend of Olivia's is welcome here. Cordelia will show you to your new quarters and help you get settled. You start work tomorrow as Olivia's personal assistant. Personal assistant? Sage looked at Olivia in shock. I need someone I trust, Olivia explained. Someone who'll tell me when I'm being an idiot. That's you. Tears welled in Sage's eyes. You're going to make me cry in front of the king. Wouldn't be the first time someone cried in my presence, Damon said dryly. Though usually it's for different reasons. Cordelia? Cordelia stepped forward. Come along, Miss Sage. Let's give them some privacy. As Sage was led away, still looking dazed, Damon turned back to Olivia. We need to talk. Privately. Come with me. He led her through a maze of corridors to a small, intimate study she hadn't seen before. The moment the door closed, his demeanor shifted. We have a problem, he said. Olivia's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? The Alpha Council called an emergency session. They're demanding an audience with you. Tomorrow. Why? To test you. To try to prove you're unfit to be queen. His jaw tightened. They're going to do everything in their power to break you, humiliate you, and force me to rescind the engagement. Can they do that? Force you to rescind it? No. But they can make your life hell. And they will. He moved closer, his silver eyes intense. Olivia, listen to me. These alphas are vicious. They'll attack every weakness, every insecurity. They'll try to make you feel like the worthless Omega your pack told you that you were. So what do? You show them exactly what you showed those reporters, that you're stronger than they think. He paused. But there's something else. Something I need to tell you before you walk into that council room. What? One of the council members is Alpha Julius Blackwood, of Crimson Ridge Pack. Your former pack leader's husband. The blood drained from Olivia's face. Margot's husband? He's on the Alpha Council? Has been for 15 years. And he's one of my most vocal opponents on Omega rights. Damon's expression was grim. He knows exactly who you are, Olivia. He knows where you came from, what you've endured, and he's going to use every piece of that against you. Olivia sank into a chair, her mind reeling. She'd thought escaping Crimson Ridge meant escaping that life, but she was about to walk into a room with the man who'd allowed his wife to torture her for 7 years. I can cancel the meeting, Damon offered. Tell them you're not ready. Buy us more time. No. Olivia's voice was stronger than she expected. If I run from this, they'll know I'm weak. They'll never stop testing me. She looked up at him. You said you chose me because I'm strong enough for this. So let me prove it. Something flickered in Damon's eyes, respect, admiration, and something else she couldn't quite name. Then, we prepare, he said. We have until tomorrow morning to turn you into someone they can't break, starting now. What does that involve? He smiled, sharp and dangerous. Everything you'll need to survive tomorrow. Combat training, political strategy, and most importantly teaching you how to be ruthless. Olivia stood, squaring her shoulders. Then let's begin. If Olivia's courage in the face of impossible odds moves you, subscribe so you never miss stories of underdogs rising to power. Stories like these deserve an audience that truly cares. Drop a comment. What would you say to the Alpha Council if you were in Olivia's position? Chapter 7. The Preparation. The training room was unlike anything Olivia had ever seen. Weapons lined the walls, swords, staffs, daggers gleaming under harsh fluorescent lights. Training mats covered the floor. Mirrors reflected every angle, making the space feel both larger and more intimidating. Damon had changed into training clothes, dark pants, and a fitted shirt that revealed exactly how muscular he was. Olivia tried not to stare, and failed miserably. First lesson, he said, tossing her a staff. Defense. Olivia caught it clumsily. I thought you were teaching me political strategy. I am. Politics is war without the blood, usually. He picked up his own staff, twirling it with practiced ease. But sometimes, the best political move is demonstrating that you're not afraid of a fight. The Alpha Council respects strength above all else. So we're going to make sure you can project it. I don't know how to fight. Then you're about to learn. Attack me. Olivia blinked. What? Swing the staff. Try to hit me. Don't hold back. When she hesitated, his voice sharpened. That's an order, Olivia. Attack your king. Something about the command, the way he was deliberately provoking her, sparked anger. All the rage she'd swallowed for 7 years suddenly had an outlet. She swung the staff. Damon blocked it effortlessly, the crack of wood against wood echoing through the room. Predictable. You telegraphed that swing from across the room. Again. Olivia attacked again. And again. Each time, he blocked her. With minimal effort, his movements fluid and controlled, while hers were wild and desperate. You're fighting angry, he observed, not even breathing hard. Anger makes you sloppy. Control it. Use it as fuel, not as your engine. Easy for you to say, Olivia panted, already exhausted. You're not the one who's been powerless your entire life. No, I'm the one who had power thrust upon me at 16 when my father was assassinated in front of me. His voice was cold. I had to lead a kingdom while I was still grieving, still learning, still terrified. So don't assume I don't know what it feels like to be overwhelmed. Olivia lowered her staff, startled by the revelation. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Learn. He moved closer, adjusting her grip on the staff. His hands covered hers, guiding her into the proper stance. Power isn't about strength. It's about precision. About knowing exactly where to strike to make the most impact. Try again. This time, aim for my weak points, joints, solar plexus, throat. They trained for 2 hours straight. By the end, Olivia was drenched in sweat, her muscles screaming, but she'd managed to land 3 hits, 3 tiny victories, that felt monumental. Better, Damon said, offering her water. You're a natural fighter. You just needed permission to fight back. I'm not sure 3 hits counts as fighting back. Against me? 3 hits is impressive. I've trained my entire life. He studied her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. Tomorrow, when Julius Blackwood tries to intimidate you, I want you to remember this feeling. The feeling of landing a hit against someone more powerful than you. Hold on to that. And if he attacks me verbally? I can't exactly hit him with a staff. No, but you can use words just as effectively. Damon set down his staff and gestured for her to follow him to a sitting area adjacent to the training room. Which brings us to Lesson 2. Verbal Combat. For the next 3 hours, Damon drilled her on Alpha Council politics. Julius Blackwood's weakness is his pride, Damon explained, pacing as he spoke. He believes Omegas are fundamentally inferior. So when you demonstrate intelligence, composure, or strength, it threatens his entire worldview. Use that. How? By staying calm when he expects you to break. By answering his attacks with logic instead of emotion. By making him look unreasonable in front of the other council members. Damon stopped pacing, fixing her with his silver gaze. I'll give you an example. He'll probably say something like, Miss Thorne, you have no education, no political experience, and no understanding of what it means to rule. What makes you think you're qualified to be queen? Olivia's stomach churned just imagining it. And I say? You say, Alpha Blackwood, I've spent 7 years managing a pack house, organizing resources, mediating conflicts, and ensuring everything ran smoothly despite having no authority and limited resources. If I can do that with nothing, imagine what I'll accomplish with the full support of the crown. Damon's lips curved. Then you smile. Sweetly. And wait for him to implode. That's actually brilliant. I've been dealing with the Alpha Council for a decade. I know how they think. He sat across from her. Your turn. I'll play Julius. Respond to whatever I say. What followed was the most intense verbal sparring Olivia had ever experienced. Damon attacked her with every insult, every doubt, every cruel question she might face. And slowly, painfully, she learned to respond. Not with anger, not with tears, but with calm, devastating logic that turned each attack back on itself. You're nothing but a basement rat pretending to be a queen. And yet, this basement rat is sitting across from the Alpha King as his chosen mate. What does that say about your ability to judge potential, Alpha? Better, Damon said, dropping the persona. But sharper. Add a barb at the end. Something like, perhaps that's why you've opposed every progressive reform the king has proposed. You're unable to see value in anything that challenges your comfortable worldview. Olivia repeated it, adding the extra bite. This time, Damon smiled with genuine approval. Perfect. That's the kind of response that makes allies in the room. You're not just defending yourself, you're pointing out his pattern of obstruction. The other council members will notice. They continued until Olivia's throat was raw and her mind was spinning with strategies, responses, and political maneuvering she'd never imagined she'd need to know. Finally, Damon called a halt. That's enough for tonight. You need rest. I don't think I can sleep, Olivia admitted. I'm too wound up. Then walk with me. It wasn't a request. Damon led her through the palace gardens under starlight. The air was cool, fragrant with night-blooming flowers. For a few minutes, they walked in comfortable silence. Can I ask you something? Olivia said finally. You just did. But yes, you can ask another thing. She almost smiled. Why are you really doing this? The Omega rights legislation, choosing me, all of it. It's more than just political strategy. There's something personal driving you. Damon was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. My mother was an Omega. Olivia stopped walking. What? It's not common knowledge. My father kept it quiet because the Alpha Council would have used it against him. Damon stared up at the stars. She was brilliant, kind, stronger than anyone gave her credit for. But the pack system broke her. She died when I was 12, officially from illness. But I know the truth. She died from being crushed under the weight of a system that told her she was worthless every single day of her life. Olivia's heart clenched. I'm so sorry. I made a promise to her before she died. That I'd change things. That no Omega would ever have to feel the way she felt. He looked at Olivia, and in his eyes she saw old pain mixed with fierce determination. That's why I chose you. Not just because you're useful for my plans though you are, but because you remind me of her. That same strength hiding beneath layers of trauma. That same refusal to completely break, no matter what the world throws at you. Tears pricked Olivia's eyes. She'd be proud of you. I hope so. He reached out, catching a tear that had escaped with his thumb. The gesture was unexpectedly gentle. Get some rest, Olivia. Tomorrow, we show the Alpha Council exactly what Omegas are capable of. As Olivia walked back to her quarters, her mind was reeling. This arrangement was supposed to be purely political, professional. no emotional attachment. But Damon had just shown her his heart, and she was beginning to realize that pretending not to care about him was going to be impossible. The next morning, Olivia dressed in armor of a different kind, a sharply tailored suit in deep burgundy, her hair pulled back in a severe bun, minimal makeup that emphasized her eyes. She looked powerful, controlled, nothing like the frightened Omega who'd scrubbed floors just days ago. Sage helped her with the final touches. "You look like you could conquer kingdoms. I'd settle for surviving the next few hours." "You will, because you're not alone." Sage squeezed her hand. "Damon believes in you. I believe in you. Now you just need to believe in yourself." A knock at the door announced Cordelia's arrival. "The Alpha Council is assembled. His Majesty is waiting to escort you." Olivia took a deep breath and stepped into the hallway. Damon was there, dressed in full royal regalia, black suit with silver accents, the crown of the Northern Territories gleaming on his head. He looked every inch the ruthless king the kingdom feared. "Ready?" he asked. "No, but I'm going anyway." His lips twitched. "That's my queen." He offered his arm. "Remember everything I taught you. Don't let them see fear. And Olivia?" "Yes? Make them regret underestimating you." Together, they walked toward the council chamber, toward the men who wanted to destroy her before she could even begin. Olivia lifted her chin. Let them try. Chapter 8. The Alpha Council. The council chamber was designed to intimidate. A massive circular room with a domed ceiling that seemed to stretch into infinity. 12 high-backed chairs arranged in a semicircle, each occupied by an alpha who radiated power and authority. At the center, facing them all, was a single chair, smaller, lower, deliberately positioned to make whoever sat in it feel insignificant. That chair was meant for Olivia. Damon squeezed her hand once before releasing it. "Remember, you are their equal. Act like it." Then he took his position at the head of the council, his throne elevated above the others. And Olivia was alone. She walked to the center chair with measured steps, channeling everything Cordelia had taught her. Spine straight, head high, no apologies in her body language. She sat, meeting the eyes of each council member in turn. Most looked skeptical. A few seemed openly hostile. And there, 3 seats to the left, sat Julius Blackwood, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, wearing an expression of pure contempt. "Let us begin," Damon's voice rang out. "Council members, as you know, I have chosen Olivia Thorne as my mate and future queen. This session is to formally introduce her and address any concerns you may have. I expect civility and respect. Alpha Blackwood, you may begin." Of course he'd give Julius the first strike. This was a test for both of them. Julius stood, his presence commanding the room. "Your Majesty, council members, I'll be direct. Miss Thorne comes from my territory, Crimson Ridge Pack. I have known her since she was a child, and I must speak honestly about what I've observed." Olivia's pulse quickened, but she kept her face neutral. "She is an Omega with no formal education beyond basic schooling," Julius continued. "She has spent the past 7 years performing menial labor. She has no political training, no understanding of governance, no connections or alliances that would strengthen the crown. She is, quite frankly, the least qualified candidate for queen in the history of this kingdom." Several council members nodded. "Furthermore," Julius pressed, "her sudden elevation sends a dangerous message to Omegas across the kingdom that they can aspire beyond their natural station. This will create instability, unrealistic expectations, and challenges to the pack hierarchy that has served us for centuries. Are you finished, Alpha Blackwood?" Damon's voice was ice. "Not quite, Your Majesty. I have one question for Miss Thorne." Julius turned his cold gaze on her. "Tell this council what makes you believe you're qualified to stand beside our king when you couldn't even earn a position above servant in your own pack." The room fell silent. Every eye turned to Olivia. This was it, the moment that would define everything. Olivia stood slowly, deliberately. She met Julius's gaze without flinching. "Alpha Blackwood, you're absolutely right about one thing. I have no formal political training. But let me ask you something. What does formal training teach you about governance?" Julius frowned. "Theory, strategy, law, history, the foundations of leadership." "Exactly, theory." Olivia took a step forward. I've spent 7 years living the reality that theory never addresses. I know what it's like when pack leaders abuse their authority because I've lived under that abuse. I know what it's like when resources are distributed unfairly because I've survived on table scraps. I know what it's like when voices are silenced because mine was silenced for 7 years. She turned, addressing the full council now. You ask what qualifies me to be queen? Experience. Real, lived experience of what life is like for the wolves you govern but never see. The Omega, cleaning your houses, the workers maintaining your territories, the people who keep your comfortable lives running while you debate theory in rooms like this. That's not qualification, that's victimhood. Julius snapped. No, Alpha Blackwood. Victimhood is when you let suffering define you. What I have is perspective. Olivia's voice grew stronger. And I'll tell you what else I have: 7 years of managing a pack house with no authority and limited resources. Do you know what that requires? Organization, conflict resolution, resource allocation, crisis management. All the skills you claim I lack, I've been practicing daily. I just did it without the title or the respect. A few council members exchanged glances. She was getting through to them. As for your concern about sending dangerous messages to Omegas, Olivia turned back to Julius. What's truly dangerous is telling half the kingdom's population that they're worthless based on biology. That's not stability. That's oppression. And oppression always, eventually, leads to revolt. Are you threatening us? Another council member, Alpha Theron, demanded. No. I'm stating historical fact. Every system built on inequality eventually collapses. His Majesty isn't trying to destroy the pack hierarchy, he's trying to save it by making it sustainable, by ensuring that every wolf, regardless of designation, has reason to support the kingdom rather than undermine it. Damon leaned forward slightly, and Olivia could see approval in his eyes. This is absurd, Julius sputtered. Your Majesty, you cannot seriously expect us to accept. Accept what? Alpha Blackwood? Olivia interrupted. Accept that an Omega can think, can speak, can lead? Because I'm standing here doing all three right now, and the only person who seems to have a problem with it is you. The room erupted in murmurs. Furthermore, Olivia continued, her voice cutting through the noise, you claim I couldn't earn a position above servant in Crimson Ridge Pack. Let me be clear about what that really means. Your wife, Margot, ensured I remained a servant because she understood something you apparently don't, that I'm a threat to comfortable prejudices. She kept me down not because I lacked ability, but because I had too much of it. Julius's face turned red. How dare you speak about my wife? I dare because I'm about to be your queen, and queens don't cower from inconvenient truths. Olivia took another step forward. You say my elevation sends a dangerous message. Good. It should. It should tell every Omega in this kingdom that their circumstances don't define their worth. That abuse and oppression aren't their fault. That there's hope for something better. She turned to address the full council once more. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not asking you to approve of me. I'm telling you that I'm going to be your queen whether you accept it or not. And I'm going to use that position to fight for every wolf who's ever been told they don't matter. You can either work with me to create meaningful change, or you can oppose me and prove exactly why change is necessary. Silence. Then, from the far end of the semicircle, an older Alpha stood. Alpha, Catherine of the Western Territories. Her silver hair was braided like a crown, and her eyes were sharp with intelligence. Your Majesty, she addressed Damon. I would like to formally withdraw my objection to this match. Miss Thorne has demonstrated more political acumen in 5 minutes than some members of this council have shown in years. Another Alpha stood. I second that. This girl, excuse me, this woman has fire. Perhaps that's exactly what the crown needs. One by one, others began to stand. Not all of them. Julius remained seated, along with 3 others. But 7 of the 12 council members showed their support. It was a majority. Damon stood, and the room fell silent. The council has spoken. Olivia Thorne's position as my mate and future queen is hereby confirmed. Are there any other objections? Julius stood slowly. Your Majesty, this decision will haunt you. Mark my words, you cannot elevate trash and expect it to become treasure. Get out. Damon's voice was deadly quiet. Your Majesty. I said get out. You've shown disrespect to your future queen. That's treason. Be grateful I'm only removing you from this session, and not from the council entirely. Damon's silver eyes blazed. Leave, now. Julius's jaw clenched, but he knew better than to argue further. He stormed from the chamber, and the doors slammed behind him with a thunderous boom. Damon descended from his throne and walked to Olivia. In front of the entire council, he took her hand and raised it to his lips, a gesture of respect that made several council members gasp. Well done, he murmured, low enough that only she could hear. You magnificent, terrifying woman. You just won a war without shedding a drop of blood. Olivia's knees were shaking, her heart pounding, but she managed to keep her voice steady. Did I? Yes. And now they all know you're not just my political strategy. You're a force to be reckoned with. As they walked out of the council chamber together, Olivia allowed herself one small, private smile. She'd faced the men who wanted to destroy her, and she'd won. Not bad for a basement rat. Chapter 9. The Wedding. The next 5 days passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Dress fittings, ceremony rehearsals, media interviews, meetings with diplomats from neighboring territories who wanted to assess the new queen-to-be, security briefings about potential threats, because apparently there were wolves who'd rather see her dead than seated on a throne. Through it all, Damon was a constant presence. Not hovering, but there. Making sure she had what she needed. Stepping in when someone pushed too hard. Teaching her the 1,000 unspoken rules of royal life. And slowly, dangerously, Olivia found herself forgetting this was supposed to be fake. The way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. The way his hand lingered on her back when he guided her through crowds. The way his voice softened when they were alone. It felt real, but it wasn't. She had to keep reminding herself of that. This was a 5-year contract. A political arrangement. Nothing more. No matter how much her heart whispered otherwise. The morning of the wedding, Olivia stood in front of a full-length mirror, barely recognizing herself. The wedding dress was a masterpiece, white silk that seemed to glow from within, fitted bodice with delicate silver embroidery that caught the light, a skirt that flowed like water. Her hair was swept up in an intricate style woven with tiny diamonds. She looked like something from a fairy tale. You're breathtaking, Sage whispered, tears streaming down her face. Absolutely breathtaking. I feel like I'm going to throw up, Olivia admitted. That's normal. It's your wedding day. To the Alpha King, in front of 10,000 people and every major news outlet in the kingdom. Sage paused. Okay, maybe throwing up is justified. Cordelia entered, her usual stern expression softening slightly. It's time. Are you ready? No. But does that matter? Not even a little bit. Cordelia adjusted Olivia's veil. Remember, this is about more than you and the king. Every Omega in this kingdom is watching. Every young girl who's been told she's worthless is looking for hope. You're carrying their dreams with you down that aisle. The weight of those words settled on Olivia's shoulders like a physical thing. No pressure, she muttered. Cordelia actually smiled. You've already proven you can handle pressure. Now go show them what a queen looks like. The cathedral was ancient and magnificent, soaring ceilings, stained glass windows that painted rainbow light across stone floors, pews filled with the most powerful wolves in the kingdom. News cameras lined the walls. Security was everywhere. Olivia stood at the entrance on shaking legs, clutching a bouquet of white roses so tightly her knuckles had gone white. The music began. She took one step forward, then another, and then she saw him. Damon stood at the altar, dressed in formal royal regalia, black and silver, the crown of the Northern Territories gleaming on his head. But it was his expression that made her breath catch. He was looking at her like she was the only person in the entire cathedral, like she was the only person in the world. It's an act, she reminded herself. He's just playing his part. But it didn't feel like an act. The walk down the aisle felt endless and too short all at once. Finally, she reached the altar, and Damon took her hand. His grip was strong, steady, grounding. You look stunning, he murmured, so quietly only she could hear. You clean up pretty well yourself, she whispered back. His lips twitched. The officiant began the ceremony, ancient words about bonds and duty and devotion. Olivia barely heard them. She was too focused on Damon's eyes, on the way his thumb was stroking small circles on the back of her hand, on the heat radiating from him. Do you, King Damon Ashford, take Olivia Thorne as your mate, your queen, your partner in all things? I do. His voice rang out clear and strong, echoing through the cathedral. And do you, Olivia Thorne, take King Damon Ashford as your mate, your king, your partner in all things? This was it. The moment of no return. Olivia looked into Damon's silver eyes and saw something there that made her heart race, something that looked dangerously like real emotion. I do, she said. Then by the power vested in me by the laws of the Northern Territories, I pronounce you bonded mates. Your Majesty, you may kiss your queen. Damon stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup her face with unexpected gentleness. Last chance to run, he whispered. Too late, she whispered back. I already said I do. Then, I suppose I should make this convincing. He kissed her, and the world dissolved. It was supposed to be for show, a simple press of lips to seal their public bond. But the moment their mouths met, something ignited. Damon's hand slid into her hair, tilting her head back as he deepened the kiss. Olivia's hands gripped his jacket, pulling him closer, her entire body responding to him in ways she couldn't control. This wasn't fake. This was real, raw, overwhelming. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the cathedral erupted in applause. But Olivia barely heard it. She was too lost in Damon's eyes, in the shocked realization that he looked as affected as she felt. Well, he said, his voice rough. That was convincing, very convincing, she managed. Your Majesties. The officiant's voice broke through the moment. May I present, for the first time, King Damon and Queen Olivia of the Northern Territories. The crowd rose to their feet, cheering. Camera flashes exploded, and Damon took Olivia's hand, leading her back down the aisle not as an Omega and her king, but as partners, equals. At least, that's what it looked like to everyone watching. The reception. The palace ballroom had been transformed into something from a dream. Crystal chandeliers, tables draped in white and silver, flowers everywhere, and a dance floor that gleamed like glass. Olivia and Damon sat at the head table, greeting an endless parade of well-wishers, pack leaders, foreign dignitaries, celebrities, politicians. Everyone wanted a moment with the new queen who'd defied every expectation. Smile, Damon murmured between greetings. You look like you're facing a firing squad. I'd prefer a firing squad. At least that would be quick. He laughed, a real laugh that made several people turn and stare. Apparently, the ruthless Alpha King didn't laugh often. Your Majesties, Alpha Catherine approached their table. I wanted to offer my personal congratulations. Miss Thorne, excuse me. Queen Olivia, your speech to the council was remarkable. I look forward to working with you on the Omega protection legislation. Thank you, Alpha Catherine. I look forward to that as well. As Catherine moved away, Damon leaned close. See? You've already made allies. That's half the battle. What's the other half? Surviving the next 4 hours without collapsing from exhaustion. He stood, offering his hand. But first we need to dance. It's tradition. The first dance belongs to the royal couple. Olivia's stomach flipped. I don't know how to ballroom dance. I know. I'm going to teach you. Right now. In front of 10,000 people. It'll be romantic. His eyes glinted with mischief. You're enjoying this way too much. I really am. He led her to the dance floor as the music began, something slow and romantic that made Olivia's heart hammer against her ribs. Damon pulled her close, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers. Just follow my lead, he murmured. Trust me. And she did. They moved across the floor, and somehow Damon made it easy. When she stumbled, he caught her. When she forgot the steps, he guided her. And slowly, Olivia stopped thinking about the watching crowd, and just felt the strength of his arms, the warmth of his body, the way he held her like she was precious. You're doing this on purpose, she whispered. Doing what? Making it feel real. making me forget this is all pretend. Something flickered across his face, something that looked almost like pain. Olivia. It's okay. She forced a smile. I understand. We're playing our parts. I just need to remember that. What if? He stopped, jaw tightening. Never mind. What if what? Nothing. Forget I said anything. But Olivia couldn't forget. Because for just a moment, she'd seen something in his eyes that looked like longing, like maybe he was having as much trouble remembering this was fake as she was. The song ended, and other couples joined them on the dance floor. Damon released her, and the loss of his touch felt like a physical ache. I need some air, Olivia said. Just for a minute. I'll come with you. No, stay. Greet your guests. I need a moment alone. Before he could argue, she fled to the balcony. The night air was cool against her flushed skin. Olivia leaned against the railing, trying to catch her breath, trying to calm her racing heart. This was supposed to be simple. A business arrangement. 5 years of pretending, then freedom. But somewhere between the council chamber and that altar, something had shifted. She'd started to care, to hope, to imagine what it might be like if this was real. And that was dangerous. Because Damon had been very clear this was a contract, not a love match. He didn't believe in true mates or real connections. He was using her to change the kingdom, and she was using him to escape her past. That was the deal. Beautiful night, isn't it? Olivia spun around. A woman stood in the shadows, tall, elegant, with platinum blonde hair and eyes like ice. She was stunning in a way that made Olivia feel plain and insignificant all over again. I'm sorry. I didn't realize anyone else was out here, Olivia said. I wanted to meet the new queen, away from the crowds. The woman stepped into the light, and Olivia saw she was wearing a dress that cost more than Olivia's entire former pack house. I'm Lady Seraphina Blackwood. Olivia's blood ran cold. Blackwood. As in, Julius Blackwood's niece. Yes. Seraphina smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I wanted to give you some advice. Omega to Omega. You're an Omega? One of the few who managed to rise in pack society through strategic alliances and careful planning. Unlike you, who stumbled into power through a text message. Her voice was sweet poison. So here's my advice, enjoy this while it lasts. Because it won't. Damon will tire of his little social experiment, and when he does, you'll be discarded like all the other temporary distractions. That's not. Did you really think he chose you for any reason other than political theater? Seraphina laughed softly. You're a symbol, darling. Nothing more. The moment you stop being useful, you'll learn exactly how ruthless the ruthless Alpha King can be. The words hit like physical blows because they echoed Olivia's own fears. Now, if you'll excuse me, Seraphina continued, I have guests to entertain. Oh, and Olivia? When this all falls apart, and it will, don't say I didn't warn you. She swept back into the ballroom, leaving Olivia alone with doubts that felt like they were drowning her. Was Seraphina right? Was she just a temporary symbol, doomed to be discarded when she'd served her purpose? The balcony door opened again. There you are. Damon stepped out, concern etched on his face. I saw Lady Seraphina leaving. What did she say to you? Nothing important. Olivia couldn't look at him. Just congratulations, Olivia. He moved closer, his hand tilting her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. I know that look. What did she really say? She said I'm a temporary distraction, that you'll discard me when I stop being useful. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. And the thing is, Damon, she's not wrong, is she? That's exactly what this is. A 5-year arrangement. I'm useful now, but eventually. Stop. His voice was fierce. Stop listening to poison from jealous people who want to see you fail. But she's right. She's not. Damon's hands framed her face, forcing her to focus on him. Yes, this started as an arrangement. Yes, I chose you for political reasons. But Olivia, somewhere between that first meeting and right now, something changed. You changed it. You walked into that council chamber and faced down the most powerful alphas in the kingdom without flinching. You stood on that altar and took vows that terrified you. You've been brave and brilliant, and so much stronger than anyone, including me, expected. That doesn't mean I don't want to discard you. The words came out raw, honest. That kiss wasn't for show. That dance wasn't for show. And the way I feel when I look at you sure as hell isn't for show. Olivia's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm an idiot who thought I could keep this professional. Who thought I could spend every day with you and not fall. He stopped, jaw clenching. Not fall what? Olivia whispered. For a long moment, Damon just stared at her, something vulnerable and terrified in his silver eyes. Then he did something that shocked her more than anything else that had happened that day. He stepped back. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. This is your wedding night, and I'm making it complicated. Forget I said anything. Let's go back inside. Damon, please. Just, let's go back inside. He turned and walked back into the ballroom, leaving Olivia alone with a heart that was breaking and soaring at the same time. Because she'd heard what he didn't say. He was falling for her. And God's help her. She was falling for him too. This fake arrangement had just become very, very real. Chapter 10. The Truth. 3 months had passed since the wedding. 3 months of living in a beautiful lie that felt more real every single day. Olivia had thrown herself into her role as queen, with everything she had. She'd worked alongside Damon to draft the Omega protection legislation. She'd visited PACs across the territories, speaking with Omegas who'd suffered the same abuse she had, documenting their stories, building a case that even the most stubborn Alpha Council members couldn't ignore. She'd become exactly what Damon had hoped for, a symbol of change, a voice for the voiceless. But she'd also become something neither of them had planned for. She'd become his partner, his confidant, the person he sought out at the end of long days, the one whose opinion he valued above all others. And every day, the line between pretend and real grew thinner. They still maintained separate bedrooms, that was part of the contract. No true mating bond, no physical intimacy beyond what was required for public appearances. But the way Damon looked at her when they were alone, the way his hand lingered on hers during meetings, the way his voice softened when he said her name, it was driving her mad, because she'd broken the cardinal rule of their arrangement. She'd fallen in love with him, completely, irrevocably, devastatingly in love, and she had no idea if he felt the same, or if she was just desperately reading meaning into kindness and respect. Present day. Olivia sat in the royal study, reviewing the final draft of the Omega Protection Act. It was everything they'd fought for: fair wages, safe working conditions, the right to refuse unwanted bonds, legal protections against abuse. It was going to change everything. The Alpha Council vote was scheduled for tomorrow. After 3 months of lobbying, negotiating, and political maneuvering, they finally had the votes to pass it. They'd won. So why did Olivia feel like she was about to lose everything that mattered? You're thinking too loud. Damon's voice came from the doorway. Olivia looked up to find him watching her with that expression that made her heart race, soft, warm, utterly focused on her. Just reviewing the final draft, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Making sure we didn't miss anything. We didn't. It's perfect. He moved into the room, settling into the chair across from her desk. We're going to pass this tomorrow, Olivia. Everything we've worked for is about to become reality. I know. Then why do you look so sad? Because once the legislation passes, the arrangement is complete. Because you got what you needed from me, and I'm terrified you'll realize you don't need me anymore. But she couldn't say that. So instead she said, I'm just tired. It's been a long 3 months. Damon studied her with those silver eyes that saw too much. That's not it. You've been distant for weeks. Ever since the wedding, actually. What happened that night? What did Serafina really say to you? I told you. You lied. You've gotten better at a lot of things in the past 3 months, but lying isn't one of them. He leaned forward. Talk to me, Olivia. Please. The please broke something in her. She said I was temporary, Olivia admitted quietly. That you'd discard me when I stopped being useful. And I know that's the arrangement we made 5 years. Then freedom. But Damon, She stopped, unable to finish the sentence. Unable to make herself that vulnerable. You what? His voice was gentle but insistent. I can't do this anymore. The words burst out. I can't pretend this is just a political arrangement when every time you touch me, I forget how to breathe. I can't smile for cameras and play the devoted wife when I'm actually, she choked on the words. When you're actually what? In love with you. The confession tore out of her. I'm in love with you, Damon. Completely, stupidly, hopelessly in love with you. And I know that's not part of our deal. I know you said this was just business. But I can't help it. And I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way. Silence. Olivia couldn't look at him, couldn't bear to see pity or discomfort or worse, indifference in his eyes. Say something, she whispered. Please. Even if it's just to tell me I'm an idiot. You're not an idiot. Damon's voice was rough. You're brave. Terrifyingly brave. Do you know how long I've been waiting for you to say that? Olivia's head snapped up. What? Damon stood and moved around the desk, pulling her to her feet. I fell in love with you the night of the Alpha Council meeting, when you stood in that chamber and took apart every argument they threw at you with nothing but logic and courage. I fell in love with you when you walked down that aisle looking at me like I was the only person in the world. I fell in love with you every single day we've spent together since. Tears streamed down Olivia's face. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I was terrified. His hands cupped her face, thumbs wiping away her tears. I told you I didn't believe in true mates or real love. I told you this was just business. And then you came into my life and proved me wrong about everything. But I thought you were honoring our agreement. That you wanted the 5 years and then freedom. I didn't want to trap you with my feelings. Trap me? Olivia laughed through her tears. Damon, you're the one who set me free. You gave me a voice, a purpose, a life worth living. How could I not fall in love with you? Then we're both idiots, he said softly. Because I've been trying to honor a contract when all I wanted was to tear it up and make this real. Then tear it up. What? The contract. Tear it up. Make this real. Olivia's hands gripped his jacket. I don't want 5 years and then freedom. I want forever. I want you. Really you. All of you. Damon's eyes blazed with emotion. Are you sure? Because once I claim you as my true mate, there's no going back. The bond is permanent. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Then I need you to know something first. His voice turned serious. I didn't choose you just for political reasons. I lied about that. Olivia blinked. What do you mean? The moment I read your text message, that bold, ridiculous proposition, something in me recognized something in you. My wolf knew. I just wasn't ready to admit it. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages until he found the one she'd sent that first night. When I read this, I felt it. The pull, the connection. You're my true mate, Olivia. You always were. I just convinced myself it was political strategy because I was too scared to believe in fate. Olivia's breath caught. You knew? This whole time? I suspected. But I didn't want to force a bond you didn't want. I needed you to choose me freely, not because of biology or fate, but because you wanted to. I do want to. I choose you. Every day, I choose you. Then let me do this properly. Damon dropped to one knee, and Olivia's heart stopped. Olivia Thorne, my queen, my partner, my true mate, will you accept my bond? Not as a contract, not as an arrangement, but as a real, permanent, forever bond? Yes, Olivia breathed. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Damon stood and kissed her, not the careful, controlled kiss from their wedding, but something wild and desperate and real. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, and Olivia melted into him, finally allowing herself to feel everything she'd been holding back. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Damon pressed his forehead to hers. I'm going to mark you, he said, his voice rough with need. Right here, right now. And tomorrow, after we pass that legislation, we're going to announce to the entire kingdom that this bond is real. No more pretending, no more contracts, just us. Promise me something first, Olivia said. Anything. Promise me you'll never stop fighting for Omegas. That even when I'm gone, even when... Stop. He pulled back, looking fierce. You're not going anywhere. We're in this together. Forever. You and me against the world. Forever. Olivia echoed. Damon's eyes flashed silver as his wolf rose to the surface. Mine, he growled, and pulled her closer. Yours, Olivia agreed. Always yours. He kissed her neck, right where the mating mark would go, and Olivia felt the bond snap into place. A golden thread, connecting their souls, their hearts, their very beings. And for the first time in her life, Olivia felt completely, utterly whole. The next day, Alpha Council chamber. Olivia stood beside Damon as the Alpha Council prepared to vote on the Omega Protection Act. She wore the mating mark proudly, a silver crescent moon on her neck that marked her as the Alpha King's true mate. The council members had noticed. Several looked shocked. A few seemed pleased. Julius Blackwood looked like he'd swallowed poison. Before we begin the vote, Damon announced, I have something to say. 3 months ago, I told you that my bond with Olivia was political. I lied. She's my true mate. She always was. And today, we're not just voting on legislation, we're deciding what kind of kingdom we want to be. One that acknowledges the worth of every wolf, or one that clings to outdated hierarchies that serve no one. He turned to Olivia, taking her hand. My queen has shown this kingdom what's possible when we stop judging wolves by their designation and start seeing them for who they truly are. So I'm asking you vote for this legislation. Not because I'm commanding you, but because it's right. Alpha Catherine stood first. I vote yes. One by one, the other council members stood. Yes. 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 Even some of Julius's former allies voted yes. When it came to Julius, he remained seated, his face a mask of fury. I vote no. But it didn't matter. 10 votes yes. 2 votes no. The Omega Protection Act had passed. The chamber erupted in applause. Damon pulled Olivia into his arms, spinning her around as she laughed through happy tears. We did it, she breathed. No, Damon corrected, his eyes shining with love and pride. You did it. You changed the world, my queen. As news of the vote spread, celebrations broke out across the kingdom. Omegas danced in the streets. Pack houses that had been prisons became homes. And everywhere, wolves who'd been told they were worthless began to believe they mattered. 6 months later, Olivia stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the city she'd come to love. Behind her, she heard Damon's footsteps. There you are, he said, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. I've been looking everywhere for you. Just thinking, she said, leaning into his warmth. About how 6 months ago, I was scrubbing floors in a basement, and now I'm a queen who just gave a speech to the United Pack Summit about Omega rights. And you were magnificent, as always. He pressed a kiss to her marked neck, making her shiver. Though I have to say, I prefer you like this. Relaxed. Happy. Mine. Always yours, she agreed, turning in his arms to face him. Did you hear? Crimson Ridge Pack just appointed their first Omega to the Leadership Council. I did. Apparently, she's brilliant. Remind you of anyone? Olivia laughed. It's Sage, isn't it? It is. Your best friend is changing the pack that tried to break you both. There's poetry in that. There really is. Olivia sobered slightly. Damon, I need to tell you something. His expression turned concerned. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect, actually. Which is why I need to tell you. She took his hand and placed it on her still flat stomach. We're going to have a pup. Damon froze. You're pregnant. About 6 weeks along. The healer confirmed it this morning. For a moment, the ruthless Alpha King looked completely undone. Then he swept her into his arms, spinning her around as he had the day the legislation passed, his laughter echoing across the balcony. We're having a pup, he said, wonder in his voice. A little Omega or Alpha or Beta who's going to grow up in a kingdom where everyone is valued, where no one is told they're worthless because of what they are, and who's going to have the best father in the world. Olivia added softly. Damon set her down gently, his hand cupping her face. I love you. So much. You know that, right? I know. And I love you too. More than I ever thought possible. He kissed her, then soft and sweet and full of promise. And as the sun set over the northern territories, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Olivia thought about the text message that had changed everything. I want you to pin me against a wall and make me forget my own name. She'd written it as a joke, a fantasy, a moment of escape from a life that felt hopeless. Instead, it had given her everything she'd ever dreamed of and so much more. A voice, a purpose, a love that defied every rule and expectation, and a future that was finally, gloriously,